Whether you're dreaming of a retirement with sand between your toes and a cold one in your hand, hitting the road to chase the winds of adventure, or spending time with your grandchildren, this show is intended to help you get there. Welcome to Coasting in Retirement with your host, Josh Knoll. You've worked too hard throughout your career to spend your retirement worrying. So sit back and kick up your feet, because we've got lots of financial tips and tricks to share to help you get exactly where you want to be. Here's Josh.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome in. Welcome to Coasting in Retirement. That's right. Thanks for joining us today. We're excited to have you. Josh Knoll here, joined by the one and only Michelle Lee Melton. The Wickles Pickles to my grilled cheese
I love
sandwich.
Wickles. Those are my friends.
The buttermilk ranch buttermilk ranch to my side salad.
Okay, not so much.
How you doing?
I'm doing all right.
I should have stuck with Wickles Pickles.
Yes.
I should have stopped there.
Those are my buddies.
You like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're from Auburn area.
They're
right?
from Dadeville.
There you go. Well, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. Hanging in there.
All right, very good. Well, we're back again here at Coastal College's recording studio, beautiful downtown Fairhope, ready to put together another great show for those of you tuning in. Listeners, Michelle and I are here today to discuss financial topics relevant to those of you in or near retirement, living your best life along our part of the Gulf Coast. Here's what we got in store for you today. First segment, deep dive on our topic of the day. Second segment, about 25 minutes past the hour, Michelle with the news of the week. That's right. And then roughly 45 minutes past the hour, stick around for our third segment. We call it Josh's Crystal Ball and Big Mouth, and it's a good one this time. So buckle up. We got a lot to get to. Quick background on me for those of you new to the show. Again, my name is Josh Knoll. I'm a fee-based financial advisor. I hold my FINRA Series 65 securities license, and I'm the owner of Gulf Coast Financial Advisors. We are an independent investment management and financial planning firm. We have offices in Fairhope, Orange Beach, and Mobile. You can find more information on me and Gulf Coast Financial Advisors by visiting our website, gulfcoastfa.com, or feel free to give us a call at 251-327-2124. Now, if you just missed all that contact info, do not worry. We repeat it several times throughout the show. So, Michelle, to the show. You have a love of French culture.
Oui, très bien.
Especially everything New Orleans, correct?
Oui.
All right, very good. Oui. All right. So, what's the French saying around something being the most important topic of the day or whatever?
Topic du jour.
Topic du jour. Is that like soup du jour?
Yes.
Okay. So, our topic...
Or quiche du jour, if you really want to go real français.
Oh, that is...
Très français.
Yeah, you lost me on that one. So our topic du jour today is what most, I would argue, if not maybe even all, insurance carriers that offer annuities view as their product du jour, the product of the day. And really...
Also French, ooh la la.
There you go. And really, I would say it's actually, I couldn't find the French term for 2 decades. I don't know what the heck that would be. But this is the product of the du jour for 2 decades.
Something.
Right. And that is fixed index annuities. Now, sometimes they're referred to as equity index annuities, but we're going to go with the most common term that they're referred to, fixed index annuities, or FIAs for short. Now, regular listeners will recognize that term. They'll also recognize that FIAs are just one product in an alphabet soup of annuity products. There's Michelle's favorite to say, that's SPIAs. There's DIAs. There's MIGAs. There's VAs. There's QLACs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? And if you want to learn more about those different...
QLAC sounds like some kind of disease or condition.
Qualified Longevity Annuity Contract. We'll talk about those on another show.
Okay.
For today's show, we're going to concentrate on the dominant player in the annuity space right now, and that is fixed index annuities, and they dominate by a mile.
All right.
All right, so now, for you listeners that work in our industry, that are listening to our radio show, for those of you all that sell fixed index annuities, I'm going to warn you ahead of time. You're probably not going to like a lot of the things I have to say, or some of the things I have to say. I know many of you all, because we get feedback, you don't always necessarily like how we expose how financial services sausage is made here on this show.
Gross.
Too bad. But we're going to be fair in our analysis. And while there's a lot of it's going to be critical, our conversation is not going to be so much a criticism of the fixed index annuity or FIA product. I'll refer to it for brevity, because an FIA is what it is. Really, it's going to be a criticism of how these things are sold. Very few things, and Michelle can attest to this, drive me nuts, irritate me as much as when FIAs, fixed index annuities, are oversold and overpromised because it happens way too often. It also aggravates me, and if you FIA-focused salespeople are being totally honest with yourself, especially those of you that try to introduce FIAs into every client's investment mix, when you are meeting with new clients, you're only thinking about two things. How much of this potential client's money can I cram into an annuity, and how much will it pay me in commissions? Mm-hmm. Admit it. I've been in, here's the problem if you want to try to gloss over it. I've been in dozens of these meetings, Michelle, and I know what the conversations are before the meeting, and I know what the conversations are when the client walks out the door. What these advisors are not, if they're being honest, what they're not thinking about is how they can be as efficient as possible with their clients' money, how to keep clients' expenses low. They're not, and they know it. And I hope, does that sound too harsh?
No.
Is that fair?
No.
Okay.
I mean, no, it's fair. It's not too harsh.
Well, and so we're going to be, and speaking of being,
as I understand it, anyway.
That's right. Well, speaking of being open here, we need to be totally open and honest with the listeners.
That's true.
Here, I just it sounded like I was super critical of fixed index annuities. Remember, I'm critical of the sales process. And to be just, again, totally open and honest with our listeners, I occasionally use fixed index annuities in my practice. And, of course, that's going to turn off some of you fee-only investors and you bogleheads, and I get it. As we have discussed many times on this show, I am slowly and intractably moving ever closer to being fee-only instead of fee-based. I came up on the insurance side, so it's not like I can just snap my fingers and wash away so many years and years and years of insurance experience. But I will be the first to tell you there is much less shenanigans in the fee-for-service world versus the commission world. There just is. Plus, two, regular listeners will know I don't fully trust insurance companies, particularly when it comes to index products.
Amen. I wrote that in my notes.
Well, let me be crystal clear with this, Michelle, for you and the listeners. Term life insurance, whole life, fixed annuities, income annuities, disability income, long-term care, those are all fine. As long as you're with a reputable carrier, those are relatively easy to understand. And in nowadays time, most of the nonsense in those particular products has gotten washed out of the industry. But fixed index annuities are intentionally not easy to understand, and you really need to pay attention to the details. You need to pay attention to what is actually in writing, not the sales pitch coming out of the salesperson's mouth, okay? So, and with my process, Michelle, I can honestly state that I typically try to talk clients out of fixed index annuities, but every now and then I'll have somebody that fits them to a T. That person is, they don't want to lose money. They want limited volatility, right, up and down. They don't want to worry about, they just don't want to worry about their money. They want something that has at least the potential to outperform what they could get with a bank CD or a fixed annuity like a MIGA, multi-year guarantee annuity, right?
Right.
And I can tell you, I anxiously await a securities-based alternative to what FIAs offer. But until that day comes, they're going to be potentially a conversation piece for a very specific client. But I'm telling you, listeners, that there's a certain chunk of my industry that views every client as a potential fixed index annuity sale. Every one of you. And don't just take my word for it. I've got I'm never going to put them out in the public, but I have actual emails from annuity brokers and wholesalers that say exactly that I'm a fool for not introducing an annuity, a fixed index annuity, as the quote-unquote safe play or quote-unquote bond alternative to every single client that I meet, that I'm missing the boat somehow by not always including this product that tends to have high commissions. Ugh. All right. And so, Michelle, if I haven't already succeeded in pissing off a big part of the industry,
here we go.
Let's just throw one more bomb.
Right.
Let's throw one more bomb at these guys. And yes, while not all of them are guys, generally speaking,
the majority tends to be.
The fixed index annuity focused sales tends to be male because it's a fairly aggressive sales process.
I mean, I can see it.
Right. Okay. And what I'm about to tell you all is probably just me being...
I've been to some of those dinners that we're going to talk about later on.
Right. This is probably just me being petty, Michelle. But what I'm about to say, I find it so weird and distasteful. I'll preface it this way. Michelle, you obviously know the movie Top Gun, right?
Obviously.
And so does every listener here, right?
Yes.
So you know how the imaginary pilots in Top Gun have call signs.
Well, I think pilots do that.
And that's real
in
life,
real
too.
life,
Right.
yes.
So in Top Gun, it's
not
Maverick.
Just a movie thing.
Fair enough.
Iceman, Wolf, Man or something.
Maverick, Goose.
Wolf, Iceman.
Yes. Well, so what if I told you? How would
They
you?
have names like that?
How would you react if I told you that some of the fixed index annuity sales guys give themselves call names such as that they attach to their sales
I
figures?
think that they've got something wrong with them.
Like names like Money Man or Rainmaker.
Oh my
Or
gosh.
my favorite is
Gross.
Prodigal Son. That's a good one. Now, how
So
do I?
should people ask
Well,
if they're
I'll get
if
to
they're
that.
being romanced by these guys, what their call name is?
Oh, we're just aggravating everybody now.
Oh
So
my
here's the thing. How do I know
Do you
this?
have one?
No,
Okay.
I've seen the list. I was actually asked to give my own call sign.
What?
And I told them, call me Josh. And they say, you don't want something cooler than that? I'm like, no, because it's not cool to have a goofy name for this. In fact, it's just ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
Again, a lot of these guys and gals, again, mostly guys, there are some gals. And I'm telling like I'm picking on y'all. I am picking on the ones that
have call names.
That have call names. They hold themselves out as fiduciary-based, client-focused advisors. But you listeners, believe me when I tell you that they spend way more time worrying about their sales contest ranking and their sales contest trips than they do about your retirement plan. Yes, I know that's being petty. This is obviously, it's an embarrassing fact that these salespeople don't want the public to know. And I'm
Hey,
sure
Lizzo says truth hurts.
well, but I'm
There
going
you
to
go.
tell you, now some of these advisors, some of them, let's be fair, are probably super talented at all facets of financial planning. But again, you listeners, just trust me on this. If you're meeting with someone that is being pushy, especially if they're being pushy when trying to sell a fixed index annuity on you, especially if they're using fear and guilt selling tactics, if you want them to back off, just ask them, hey, how many of these things do you sell? And if the answer is a lot, ask them if they've got a call sign nickname for any of their sales contests. And that'll answer your question, Michelle. Just watch them squirm.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Now, I'm not saying all of them do, but I'll tell you, I've seen several of these lists, and they all had names
Wow.
like Maverick kind of thing on there.
Oh, my goodness.
It's goofy.
That is goofy.
Well, silly pet names aside, here's why this matters to you, the listener, is that these guys and gals sell billions of dollars in fixed index annuities. And again, like I said earlier, I sell a small handful. So again, if I sound petty and jealous, I'm not. It's just not a product that applies to every single person that walks in the door, which is what happens when these guys have these sales contests. That's how they view everybody. And the problem is it has huge consequences for retirement plans. Michelle, there's individual producers that do hundreds of millions of dollars in fixed index sales, annuity sales on their own or with a small team. And here's the thing, folks, more often than not, the commission rate is somewhere in the neighborhood of 7 to 10% of that total account value. You're talking about millions of dollars in commissions being paid out. All right?
Okay.
Now, technically, the insurance company pays the producer the commission, not you. But trust me on this. In order to make up for that large commission, the insurance company is going to get their pound of flesh from the product and the client themselves, not from their own bank account. They do that through typically what's called surrender periods. Okay. Now, just because it has a surrender period doesn't mean there's anything necessarily wrong with it. But what you all have to pay attention to, when I do a fixed index annuity and I use J Stubbs and Providence Partners, they are not an annuity shop. They're full risk management. But when I do a fixed index annuity, I utilize them. And one of the reasons I utilize them among many is they will not do a fixed index annuity with a longer surrender period than 10 years.
Yeah, well, okay.
Okay.
That seems reasonable.
It does sound reasonable,
Yeah,
right?
right.
But a big chunk of the fixed index annuities that are sold today have 15-year surrender periods, 12 to 15 years. Here's why. The longer the surrender period, the higher the commission that is paid to the selling agent,
ding.
right? And what the insurance company wants to do is lock up your money as long as possible. Folks, I can tell you, I have been doing this now. I came up on the insurance side. I've been doing this now, I guess 16 years. The products that we represented back in the beginning of my career are so out of date now. So out of date. They're like cars with roll-up windows. You don't want something that has a 15-year time horizon. It will be antique by the time it gets to the end of that thing. Understood?
Yes.
And again, it's not the problem with the product, it's how they're sold and how they're designed. There's millions of retirees right now holding these products that are expecting a better outcome than they're actually going to get. They were sold on the upside potential versus the actuality of what these things do. And that's so aggravating because these products do have a role, and if expectations are properly set, there's a great role there's a absolute role for this product in some people in a very particular client's portfolio. Again, They don't want to lose money. They don't want much volatility. They want capital preservation, but they would like at least the chance of a little more upside than they would get at like a bank CD. Does that make sense? All right. So the thing is, a lot of the people selling these things, they have such strong commission breath, they're going to gloss over whatever details they think they need to do in order to make the sale. And last thing, Michelle, if you really want to get my blood boiling, get me talking about the advisors that mix religion in with their annuity sales pitch.
What?
A topic
Aren't
for
there
another
rules
day.
against that?
If there are, there's several to ignore. Okay, I need a minute now.
Are you getting the vapors?
Let's take the temperature in the room down. All right. So, listeners, you've now heard me talk about how little I respect the sales processes of the fixed index annuity pushy salesperson. That I just can't stand it. It drives me nuts. But let's pivot to what these things actually do, okay? Not the pie in the sky promises, but the actual baseline thing that a fixed index annuity offers. Here it is. We've gone over it several times. What happens is when you place the premium in a fixed index annuity, the insurance company, the insurance company says this: we're going to, this product, because it is a fixed product, it does not have any true stock market holdings. Does that make sense, Michelle?
Yes.
Okay. So it doesn't have, like a variable annuity actually holds mutual funds, right? An fixed index annuity does not. Now, the fixed part is the insurance side of it.
Okay.
It's going to have some kind of baseline percentage on the fixed account. The index part is the important part we need to pay attention to. Michelle, do you know, at this point, do you know what a stock market index is? Can you name one or two?
Yeah, NASDAQ.
Well, NASDAQ is an exchange, but there's a NASDAQ tracking index.
Okay.
S&P 500.
Okay, yes. And there's one out of Atlanta, too.
Dow Jones. There's a ton of them. But the best known are the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones. So what a fixed index annuity does is it tracks an index. So we'll keep it simple. So let's say you put $100,000 into a fixed index annuity and you go 100% tracking on the S&P 500. And you do, more often than not, what they do is called point to point. So let's say you buy it on January 1st of any particular year. Okay. 1 year, fast forward 12 months. On January 1st of the next month, 12 months later, that product is going to look at the index, in this case the S&P 500, and it's going to see if that index went up or down. Okay? If it went down, your $100,000 is capped at a 0% loss.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yes.
If the index went up, let's say 15%, any percent. If the index goes up, you're going to participate to a certain degree up to what's called the cap rate of that gain.
Okay.
Just from a raw again, you're not holding the security. You're just tracking this index. And so what happens if the index goes up 15%? Annuity guy's going to yell at me for this, but I think most of the cap rates are somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 to 10%. Let's say 8%. Okay. So if the S&P went up 15%, you get 8%. The insurance company technically kind of keeps the cream off the top, right? So that's a trade-off. You're leaving potential gains on the table in exchange for not going below 0%. Make sense?
Yep.
Okay. And what that does, if you all can picture it, this is a radio show, but when you look at the stock market and it goes up and down, kind of like a roller coaster going up and down.
Yay, roller coaster.
Up and to the right. What happens is it tends to smooth that curve over. And what you'll see sometimes in an illustration, you'll see that, hey, what does it do to my portfolio if I don't have significantly down years? Which is a fair point, but those significantly down years are fairly, 2008, COVID, right? It's not like it necessarily happens every year. All right. So, and then with that, that's a baseline of how a fixed index annuity works. On top of that, they have income riders. They have certain death benefits. They have sometimes they'll give you a bonus if you put into, they have a lot of bells and whistles. But really, folks, what you really want to pay attention to is how long are they trying to lock up your money? Because that's actually going to probably tell you a story on how commission focused the advisor is that's pitching it to you is. And again, I'm going to tell you, don't do anything over 10 years. This industry changes too much. Products that are 15 years old are so out of date, horribly out of date, and you need to, so don't lock it up that long. But here's the bottom line. All right. I like nice things, right?
Do you?
I do. Do you like nice things?
I mean, I like nice things.
Yes, you do. I like making money.
Who doesn't?
So the fixed index annuity sales game provides people like me the opportunity to have nice things right now and make lots of money right now. And sometimes it works out for the clients, But buying this type of product should not be done on a sales pitch or should not be done on an illustration that, to be honest with y'all, isn't worth the paper it's printed on. Our Lord help us, after somebody feeds you a steak at a dinner seminar, like Michelle referenced earlier, if you want to have an open and honest conversation about fixed index annuities, whether you already have one or whether you're being presented one, and this especially if you're getting pushed into do one, you need to give us a call, 251-327-2124. You can also reach us through our website, gulfcoastfa.com. That's Gulf like the Gulf of Mexico. Coast is in the show title. FA is in financialadvisor.com. Now, on our site, you can choose to send us a direct message, or you can click on the blue button in the upper right-hand corner. That's my Calendly link for my calendar. That'll set up a 15-minute introductory phone call on my calendar. And when you do that, make sure if you want me to call you, include your phone number. It's better if you call me. All right, folks, coming up next, there's always a lot going on in the world, particularly the world of finance, investments, and money. Every week, Michelle and I scour what she calls the interwebs for financial articles related to our topic of the day, especially articles that pertain to those of you in or near retirement. So join us after the break to hear Michelle and I discuss this week's relevant headlines in our Michelle with the News of the Week segment. Stay tuned.
A multidimensional financial services company, Providence Partners serves the needs of independent insurance, financial, and employee benefit professionals. The team at Providence Partners serves other business professionals like property and casualty agencies, registered investment advisors, community banks, and benefit brokers to assist in their clients' risk management planning. Whether an individual or business owner client, this planning includes income replacement protection, planning for extended healthcare costs, family needs, and generational transfers of wealth. At Providence Partners, we give you access to industry specialists. Those specialists focus on business succession, business owner planning, family and household protection, estate planning, planning for that income loss, or planning for long-term care solutions. Providence Partners is an Alabama-based company. We have offices in Birmingham and along the Gulf Coast. Our website is providencepartners.org, and you can reach us any of the working days.
Welcome back to Coasting in Retirement. Your host, Josh Knoll here. So as we discussed before the break, every week Michelle and I scour the internet for financial articles related to our topic of the day, special articles that pertain to those of you in or near retirement. And our job, at least we think it is to help you all understand how these headlines impact you, especially when it comes to your money. Now note, if you want to read these referenced articles yourself, we include the hyperlinks in our show transcript, which you can find on our website, gulfcoastfa.com. Just look under the podcast tab. We upload the episodes every Monday, or I say we, my son Peyton does, every Monday after the show airs on Sunday. And click it there if you want to see the rest of these articles. And without further ado, here's Michelle with the news of the week.
All right, Josh. So you told me that you wanted to pick the first two articles, that they would be from the same source, and that you had similar viewpoints on annuities as the author did. So that author goes by Stan the Annuity Man.
Right.
Which sounds like a great pickup line for a guy if he wants to be single the rest of his life.
Or wants to date 80 years old. 80
which
years?
I think he might be, because he mentions his mom in one of the articles.
He sounds like he's got a lot of chest hair.
And no head hair, because he wears a hat all the time. But he is actually pretty funny. Okay.
All right.
So, anyway, Stan the Annuity Man's first article is titled Index Annuity Scams, Back-Tested Annuity Returns. And it appears that Stan is not a fan of pushy FIA sales people either. He does jump around a little bit in this article. It seems like he used to be a fan of FIAs. Can I say FIAs?
I guess you could, but
it sounds more fun that
it does,
way.
right? Yeah,
Okay.
fixed index annuities.
Fixed index annuities,
Okay.
and now he's not. He's broken up with them because they were being sold using back-tested numbers, which I've
Right.
never heard of back-tested before.
Right.
And then, anyway. So, apparently, the back-testing is illegal in some states.
In some states, yeah.
So, I don't know about Alabama. I should have looked into that.
Right.
I'm not sure.
I don't
Okay.
know either. Yeah,
Okay,
honestly.
so there's a lot of industry jargon in this article, so I'm going to toss it to you as why listeners should read this article and what their takeaway should be. I did learn that annuities came to an existence in 1994, like you said. That's what it read.
Right.
Yeah, 1995, to compete with the MIGAs and stuff like that
That's
you
right.
mentioned
Yeah.
earlier. I do have a question
Yeah.
that I want you to be able to answer.
Hit me.
Okay. One thing that stood out for me in this article, it says that annuity companies can change the crediting method.
Yes.
What in the world does that mean?
Oh, that's a big one.
I know,
that's a
but
great
I don't.
question.
Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you. You're welcome, listeners.
Yes. So Stan, the annuity man, he's actually sells annuities. So he's kind of a contrarian guy, right?
Okay.
So we relate. He's got one chip on his shoulder. I got a chip on both. But he, what he does, he sells it by being just completely open and honest with people, right? He kind of like we mentioned in the opening segment, I'm almost going to try to talk people out of these things to some degree.
Yes.
I want to make sure that that's really what they want and it really fits their situation. But when he's talking about back-tested numbers, basically what he's talking about, this is a broad statement, y'all, but whenever you're getting shown numbers for a fixed index annuity, what they're going to show you is an illustration, right? The illustration is going to have
like Bob Ross painting of
a
clouds
little
and
bit.
trees? Okay.
Yeah, it can be kind of fairy tale like that sometimes.
Ooh.
But it's going to show you what the potential performance of the annuity would be. Let's say in an up market, it's going to show you what the potential performance would be in a down market. A lot of times they'll show you over a time, like if it's a 10-year surrender, they'll give you the last 10 years of the index that it's tracking to show you what it would have done. Right. And then the most important thing is you just look at what the guaranteed is. And normally, honestly, the guarantee is 0%.
Okay.
a lot of times they'll give you a guaranteed rate for the first year, 2 years, or a couple of years, and then it'll be 0% the rest of that. So what you have, like say you bought a 10-year contract and it had 3-year rate guarantee. Well, what you have is a 3-rate guarantee with potential of 0% on the next 7 years, right?
Okay.
And what he's saying on the back testing is a lot of times the salespeople will say, well, look at what you would have made if you had held it during this time period. And it's just not an accurate way of selling these things, right? So really what you want to do a lot of times, I mean, I'll use an illustration, but I'll just tell people it's not worth the paper it's printed on.
Okay.
I mean, what you want to know is like, look at this guaranteed thing, and then here's what is potentially might happen. And what potentially might happen is if you've got and normally I do 5-year contracts, just so you know, Michelle.
Okay.
But normally, or what you're saying is like, there is a potential if the market is down year to year, if the index that this annuity is tracking, which we try to mix it up a little bit just to get some diversification. But let's say you had 100% on an S&P 500. If we had 5 years in a row of a down S&P 500, this thing's not going to make a dime, right? Now, some people are like, okay, fine, I don't lose any money. Well, yeah, you don't technically lose any money, but you lost the opportunity cost, right?
Okay.
And you lost the inflation battle.
Ooh.
Right. Now, what Michelle asked about is annuity companies can change the crediting rate.
Yes.
I'm telling you all, this is so important. A lot of times,
it seems very important and
this is
sketch.
critically important. The insurance companies, generally speaking, will sweeten the pot in some form or fashion in the first year to a couple of years of annuity. It's kind of like, hey, sometimes they'll do a bonus. You put in $100,000, we'll give you a $10,000 bonus. Sometimes they'll do a high cap rate.
Same with bonuses, they don't always guarantee the rest of the years and stuff like that.
Well, but if you read the fine print, once whatever the contractual special thing, special offer, buy now, right? Once that's gone, they have complete control over this thing. And anybody that's had a fixed index annuity that's paid attention, that's had it for a number of years, they've seen ups and downs. Like sometimes the crediting rate can be to their benefit, but more often than not, it's usually a dialing down to reduce the exposure of the insurance company. The main thing you all need to understand, you've got to understand this. There's a reason that we use fixed index annuities sparingly because it's a very specific need case. And there's also a reason that we don't do a ton of annuities, even though when somebody says annuities are bad, I always ask them, well, which kind are you talking about? Because as Michelle has learned through the show, calling a MIGA bad when somebody just wants a 3-year rate lock is silly. It's not. You're just showing your ignorance of the annuity space, right? But the one thing you got to hold true is this. There's a reason we don't trust a significant portion of our clients' retirement dollars to an insurance company in the form of an annuity, especially a fixed index annuity, because if things get rough, if it gets rough for the insurance company, if it gets rough for the market, if it gets rough just in the economy in general, the insurance company has the ability and will use it to dial down things in their favor so that they don't lose money and you get less benefit, period.
Okay.
I've doing this 16 years. They will protect their backside before they're going to do something that's
beneficial to the client.
Right. Yes. Period.
That's sad.
All right. What's next? Stan the Annuity Man coming again, right?
Yes, a double header. So This time, the article is titled "The Truth About Hybrid Annuities." So, listen, I'm suspect of hybrids anyway. I mean, the cars seem like a good idea.
Right.
But if you run out of electricity, you can burn some fossil fuel, but you can't even do that when you're out like on Zizix Road in Southern California. You're screwed. So anyway, all right. So, but it made me think of a whole bunch of things, but it's suspect. But I immediately thought of one of our favorite things that we like to joke about is the Chilean sea bass.
The Chilean sea bass, which I call Chilean for years.
Which is the le poisson du jour,
right.
maybe. Anyway, so it's not really the Chilean sea bass, is it, Josh? It's a Patagonia toothfish.
The Patagonian toothfish.
No, it's Patagonia, like the Patagonia.
Oh, there's not an N at the end? So,
no.
So what you're telling me is Chilean sea bass is a made-up marketing name.
Correct.
For a fish that sea bass sounds better than toothfish.
Right.
Okay. All right. Keep going.
It looks better when it's on your seafood index of the overfish.
Yeah. Let's see some toothfish, and you feel like you're going to be picking bones out of your teeth or something. Right. I get it. Okay. I understand.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Anyway, Stan says that there is no such thing as a hybrid annuity. Okay, fine. But here's my question. I get why someone would be more inclined to eat something with sea bass in the title versus toothfish.
Right.
That sounds more appealing to the. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
But why would calling something a hybrid potentially help it sell more?
So all right. So as in this article, Stan, the truth
I'm
about
suspect of hybrids anyway. So.
Well, that's fair. But what he's referring to in this is there are some fixed index annuity salespeople that use the term hybrid, and I'm telling you all, there is no such thing as a hybrid annuity.
Okay.
It is the.
So it's just fancy.
It's Chilean sea bass.
Okay.
Now
it's the hook.
It's Chilean sea bass. There's fixed index annuities.
Yeah, sure.
And sometimes what they'll say, they'll use the word hybrid if it's a fixed index annuity that's maybe combined in some type of income annuity, but they use it because, in my opinion, Michelle, it makes it sound a little bit newer and more
flashier,
more sophisticated, right? Makes the buyer feel a little bit more savvy about these things.
Ooh, okay.
But folks just understand that he's got a pretty strong opinion in this article, and not to parrot him, but if somebody uses the word hybrid, that should be a red flag. Now he says just slam the phone down, get up, walk out, all that. I'm going to be maybe a little bit more measured than that. Try to understand that when somebody says that, say, when you call it a hybrid, why do you call it that? And maybe they work hand in hand closely with an insurance carrier that has designed a product for their practice. Maybe they're a big time seller of these things. They've even got their own call sign on a sales contest kind of thing. But just understand, you got to watch out for any time that somebody uses terminology on an annuity that doesn't use the word annuity. That means they're trying to cover up the fact that it's annuity. Okay, and what I mean by that, when they call it a hybrid, right? Or sometimes you'll hear bond alternative.
Oh, alternatives.
Right. So listen,
I like alternative music.
Is this an alternative to bonds? I mean, kind of. Fixed index annuities. I mean, kind of. But you're talking about, are dogs an alternative to cats? Well, kind of.
Yes.
But they're different. They're radically different.
They are different.
Right. And so
I'm allergic to some.
So the main thing is you want to be careful with this. As Stan, the annuity man with lots of chest hair and very little head hair points out in this, you got one shot at this thing. You got one shot. And a lot of times when you get into these annuity shops, before you know it, you have put 3/4 or more of your investable wealth into an annuity. And I'm telling you, folks, once that 30-day surrender or free look period is over, you're
donezo.
You can, unless you can prove outright fraud, which is hard to do.
Right.
You're not getting your money back
That's
out.
a high threshold.
Now, you hopefully you're with a reputable company. Always make sure, check out the insurance company. Make sure they're A-rated. Make sure that they are a brand name that you recognize. Particularly avoid newer insurance companies based out of Texas where it's a little bit of a free-for-all. But check all that. And even if you feel you have buyer's remorse, if you're with a good company and you at least had a reason for doing the fixed index annuity, things may work out okay. But just be careful for terminology like this. Hybrid, there is no such thing as a hybrid annuity.
I like his two questions he said for everybody to ask too. What do you want the money to contractually do? And when do you want that to happen?
That's it. Those are great questions for the consumer. Ask them.
All right.
And there should be no hesitation on the advisor to
exactly. If there is, then you should maybe skedaddle quickly.
Very good. Good one.
All Our next article comes from an organization that I believe plays an important role in regulating your industry, and I am talking about FINRA.
FINRA, yeah.
Okay. What does it do?
Well, that's a great question.
Do you know? You have to write them a check or something?
Well, so we are regulated. The great thing about our industry is we're regulated by a lot of different groups. The bad thing about our industry, we're regulated by a lot of groups, right?
Yeah.
So there's the SEC. That's a big
Well,
dog.
and some things aren't regulated by all things because things have to be registered or something.
Well,
right,
there's
SEC.
there's
Right.
securities registered,
Okay. Yeah, I
and
knew
then
there was
there's
some kind of
insurance.
differentiation.
That's a great question again. So
Just full of them today.
yeah, FINRA, generally speaking, has more to do with what's called broker-dealer reps, registered reps, people that sell variable annuities, mutual funds, things like that. They don't. I have a FINRA securities license,
Yes.
but I would get in quicker trouble, generally speaking, with the SEC based on my fee-for-service world that I operate in.
Okay.
We also have the Department of Labor, and of course, we have all the other organizations that regulate us.
Okay. So FINRA has an article for consumers on their website titled The Complicated Risk and Rewards of Indexed Annuities. I picked this article because while it provided pretty detailed information about fixed indexed annuities, it also did it in a concise and easy to understand manner. The biggest thing this article tries to accomplish is to explain how the fixed indexed annuities work, which I can tell you from my viewpoint seems both incredibly simple and also needlessly complex. So why don't you go ahead and break it down for us further?
Well, okay, so here's an important thing. One of the first important thing on this is fixed index annuities. The naming of these things can be a little confusing because when they first appeared on the scene, they were referred to as equity index annuities.
Equity index
And
annuities.
I'm assuming
Yes.
somewhere along, and maybe they still are to some degree. I know them as fixed index annuities, but they are equity index annuities, which sounds, I mean, even to me in the industry, that sounds like something that holds equity, i.e.
Right.
is in the stock market, which they are not.
Ah,
The other thing that's confusing is a fixed annuity. As long as that word index or equity is not in the title, a fixed annuity is a broad terminology to refer to like a multi-year guaranteed annuity. That could be an income annuity. That could be something where it's a predetermined amount of money coming in and a predetermined amount of money coming out. That's a fixed annuity.
all right.
The index is when they actually start bringing in, when they're tracking things like the S&P 500 indexes or the Dow Jones or various other indexes. In this article, this is a great one, again, because it's FINRA, and FINRA is tasked, one of the things FINRA is tasked with is making sure that people don't, they understand clearly what they are actually getting themselves into, both from a variable product standpoint, like variable annuities, to these type of products, fixed index annuities, to mutual funds, all the things. They talk about the floors in a contract. They talk about participation rates, spreads, interest caps, buffers. We don't have time for all that, Michelle, but the link for that article, or you could probably Google it too, but the link for this article, The Complicated Risks and Rewards of Indexed Annuities, it's a good one if you are actually considering one of these products. And again, if you want to have a conversation about it, whether you already have one, whether you're being presented one by another producer or advisor, or particularly for any of y'all that are feeling under the gun and being pressured into buying one, give us a call. We'll take care of you. 251-327-2124. We got time for one more?
Yep. So while I think we've been very fair, I think we've also picked on the fixed index annuities quite a bit in this episode.
We have more than I
And
meant to be honest with
sure,
you.
we for sure have picked on any shady fixed index annuity
intended to do that.
salespersons
I
out
definitely
there.
intended to do
Shame
that.
on them and
Yeah.
their stupid call signs. Okay. But I wanted to give fixed index annuities a shot at a positive ending. Because despite all of the potential pitfalls, there's no denying the popularity of them right now, which they are wicked popular. In fact, U.S. News & World Report wants to tell us exactly why this is happening with their recent article titled Fixed Index Annuity, Why It's Gaining Popularity Now. So I have said annuity and fixed index annuity way more than I ever want to. So it doesn't roll off the tongue necessarily.
Stan, the annuity
So-
man might have a shot with you at this point.
Oh, wow. Maybe. I mean, perhaps. Is he in Florida?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right. So his mom is, because she goes to all those things. That's what he said. Okay. Well, anyway, I'm going to hand it over to you, this last article.
Okay.
Okay? Because I'm a little
Well-
brain dead with the FIAs.
So, like you said, to be fair, they are. I know we have the numbers in front of us, Michelle, but we've referenced this in the past. The annuity sales in general have gone significantly up year over year for many years, right? And in that segment of overall annuity sales, the fixed index annuity part is the largest part last we checked, and it's a huge part. So we're sitting here, singing like we're slinging arrows at it. Again, I want to be careful, or I want to be clear. The product itself, there are people that argue that the product is fundamentally flawed, and they do have their points. But I'm telling you, at least from the product itself, it is what it is, as long as it's properly explained. The headache comes from how they are sold. Now, put that to the side. Why are they so popular? Part of it is we are living, especially since COVID, we are living in a time period of historic stock market volatility, right?
Yep.
And it can be very unnerving.
Yes, it's
when
exhausting.
you see your account go up and down,
Yep.
up and down. And any of y'all that has money in the market, especially if you have significant money in a retirement account when COVID hit, I mean that was in some regards 30+% drop in one day. And so there is, when you get older, there is the risk of what's called drawdown risk, where you need to pull money
Yeah.
out of the account. And if you're doing that in a down market, you're selling your positions at a loss
Yep.
or at a lower value, if you will. And it's harder to make up that loss, if you will. So that's, when you ask about the appeal of it, Michelle, that's really what it comes down to. That 0% floor, taking that loss of principal out of the equation, and then reducing volatility. And then if you got a name brand carrier, maybe there's an income rider on there. You like the idea of having some guaranteed income at some point in the future when you trigger that income rider on your fixed index annuity. So I see why, especially when you are in the deaccumulation phase, when you're in retirement, I can see why there would be some appeal to it and why they're growing so strongly. So that's
All right.
that's a totally fair statement, right?
Okay.
Again, the thing is, for y'all that sit through the sales process, ask a ton of questions, and for those of y'all that are doing the sales, tell the truth, go get into the details. And if you're willfully, you can be ignorant, that's fine, but a lot of times you're willfully ignorant. Well, I mean, I was new at this too, right? But I would take the opportunity when I was doing this, like, listen, I don't really know what I'm talking about yet, so let's read this together, right?
Okay.
And what happens, Michelle, like I told you, the most talented,
Not fake
the
it
most
till you make
talented
it.
salespeople in the attorney space are in what part of the industry? In the class action stuff, right?
Oh, okay. Like you
As
said
far
attorneys,
as-
and I was like, oh, what? Yes.
The most talented salespeople in the attorney space, generally speaking, gravitate towards the
What, personal injury?
personal injury, right?
Yes.
They're really they're not maybe they're good attorneys, maybe they're not, but they're really good salespeople.
Yeah.
Same with that part. This
Okay.
part in the advisor space, the really talented salespeople tend to gravitate towards the fixed index annuity sales period.
Okay.
All right, now I've just put a bow on pissing everybody off in
All
the
right.
industry.
Well,
All right, well, Michelle, great job with the headlines. These
Okay.
are all important pieces of information that impact those of you in or near retirement. Well, actually, this is very important.
yeah.
Listeners, if you want to continue the conversation, again, one last time, especially if you're looking at this product or you want to learn more in a no BS, no pressure conversation, give us a call, 251-327-2124, or go to our contact page on our website, gulfcoastfa.com, or while you're there, click the blue button in the upper right-hand corner, get a 15-minute introductory phone call on my calendar. All right, folks, coming up next, Josh's crystal ball and big mouth would have been some of my predictions. Have I been right? Was I ever wrong? How wrong? What do I think is going to affect investors in the near future, maybe the distant future? We talk about all these things and poke a little fun at my big mouth. Stay tuned. Whether it's building a business from scratch with your own two hands and wanting to maximize the financial impact of those sacrifices, or growing a great nest egg by being a dedicated and reliable worker for years, or choosing to live a life well within your means in order to accomplish a lifelong dream of retirement, the last thing you want is to go with the wrong financial advice after you've worked so hard to accumulate your assets. You've also probably spent most of your life putting others' needs ahead of your own, and now it's your turn. We can help. Gulf Coast Financial Advisors is a locally owned, independent, fee-based financial planning, investment management, and tax planning practice. We have offices in Fairhope and Orange Beach. We serve all of Baldwin County and the Gulf Coast. We also have an easy-to-understand fee-for-service model with no sales quotas, no proprietary products. Our ultimate responsibility is to our clients' goals and dreams. You can reach us at 251-327-2124 or find us online at gulfcoastfa.com. That's GULF, like the Gulf of Mexico, Coast, FIAs and financialadvisor.com. Welcome back. Your host, Josh Knoll here, alongside co-host Michelle.
Hello.
So I'm opinionated. I have strong opinions at times. I would argue that a radio show host that isn't wouldn't be very interesting
Boring.
to listen to, right? And I'm paid in my profession to offer professional guidance and opinions to my clients. Again, otherwise, what use would I be? Just replace me with AI. Now, sometimes I feel so strongly about something, I'll talk about it publicly. And sometimes I'm proved right. Usually I'm proved right, but sometimes I swing and miss. So if you want to hear me a little crow, let's get out of Joshua's crystal ball and big mouth. What you got first?
Okay. Well, it's one and only.
Yeah, we're running short on time.
Yes. Way back in 2016, that's when I moved to Fairhope, when you were just a wee little insurance agent and what's apparently called a registered rep,
Yes.
the Department of Labor, or DOL for short, proposed a new investment fiduciary rule. The stated goal of this new rule was to provide a uniform standard for determining who is a fiduciary and expand the definition of retirement investors. The rule also considered certain services, such as annuity sales, to be fiduciary services. Younger Josh took this as a sign that you needed to pivot to fee-based, fiduciary-based services, which you did a couple of years later with the formation of your company, Gulf Coast Financial Advisors, which is an independent fee-based financial planning and investment management firm. I didn't know you then, but according to what you've told me, you were very vocal in your belief that the new DOL fiduciary rule would produce monumental change in your industry. Apparently, this DOL rule has taken more criticism and heat than what Coach Kalen DeBoer has received for Alabama's recent loss to Vanderbilt. Hilarious. Vandy will probably beat Auburn, though, too, which will also kind of be funny, but hopefully
New
won't come to
listeners,
fruition.
Michelle was raised in Opelika. She's Auburn. She bleeds.
I bleed orange and blue.
That's right. Yeah.
Right.
Good one.
Season ticket holder for a long time.
Good,
Okay.
Good dig at the Crimson Tide there.
Eagle. Okay. So, so part of your criticism, including having the implementation of these rules being delayed indefinitely by a federal
That
judge,
was recent.
which
That
has
was this
happened.
past month.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that happened. So, what's the deal with this rule? Why did you think it was so important back in 2016? And what do you have to say about now? Is it still important? Has it lost its luster?
Okay.
Do you know why the federal judge? I think I saw that ticker, but I don't know why he or she delayed it.
So, on the choice of going fee for service, fee based, fiduciary based, all that, I was absolutely right. On my prediction back then, this was probably one of the first times when my big mouth got ahead of me. That the Department of Labor fiduciary rule was going to radically change our industry. I don't know if I've ever been so wrong. I mean, did the rule have? Depending on what side of the industry you're on. If you were on the fee only or the fee based side, you were fine with the rule. In fact, I would say the CFPs and the fee only guys were probably pretty big fans of it. I know that. I don't know what his direct involvement with it was, but Bogle, Vanguard,
Boglehead?
I'm pretty sure he was a pretty big pushing source behind. I could be wrong. Sorry if I'm wrong there, Bogleheads. But so if you're on that side, you were for it. If you were on the commission side, particularly the insurance sales side, particularly the annuity side, you were against it because like Michelle mentioned, among the many things that it was attempting to do is it was trying to put the annuity sales into, especially around qualified plans, retirement plans in normal language, into the fiduciary space. What does that mean? Right now, or generally speaking, when you sell an insurance product, annuity, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to meet what's called a suitability standard.
Okay.
Suitability says that, this is really simplified, Michelle, but suitability says that this product is suitable for my client's situation, right?
All right.
That's all it has.
Yeah.
That's a bar you have to
Fair.
change.
Yeah.
The fiduciary standard is the bar goes higher on the rack. It says, I sold this product or service acting in the solely best interest of my client. Not just suitable, solely best interest.
Okay.
All right.
Higher standard.
And so what they were trying to do with the Department of Labor rule was make it where pretty much any type of retirement advice, whether it be on the investment side or on the insurance side, again, particularly the annuity space, this was definitely going after the annuity salespeople, that they had to be fiduciaries. Since then, and I'm going to save you all the quagmire, because this thing has been implemented, it's been rejected, it's been put on hold, it's been changed. It was started in the Obama era. Trump
Yeah, I
came
remember Trump
along,
doing
he
something.
changed it. Then Biden tried to change it, and then they thought they had it all ready to go. They were going to implement it sometime in September of this year, and it just got put on indefinite hold. So I don't know what to tell you all other than my big mouth was so far off. I thought this thing was going to be such a historic changer. It made me change the direction of my career earlier than I necessarily was ready for. But at the end of the day, it worked out because now I'm on the fee-for-service side of the world, and I think that's where the industry is going, and I think that's where the industry should be. So there you go.
There you go.
All right. Well, listeners, I hope you enjoyed a little history on how I form my opinions and predictions, and more importantly, that I'm willing to admit when I am wrong. Now, if you liked what you heard today, or maybe you just want to have a conversation about your investments and your retirement plan, we invite you one last time to reach out to us. Call us anytime at 251-327-2124. I will answer that phone. I know when the radio show leads are calling, and I'll say, hello, this is Josh, and it's fun. People are like, oh. And so call that. We'll make an appointment, or go to our website, gulfcoastfa.com. Upper right-hand corner, blue button, click it, put a 15-minute conversation on my calendar. If you want me to call you, make sure your instructions say that and include your phone number. Well, folks, that's it for us this week at Coasting Retirement. I want to give a huge thank you to my lovely co-host, Michelle Lee Melton.
Thank you. You're very welcome.
Thank you to our show sponsor. That's Providence Partners and Providence Benefits. That would be Jay Stubbs and his group out of Mobile. They're doing a fantastic job. Thank you to our awesome radio station. That's FM Talk 106.5 out of Mobile. Many thanks to the provider of our show music. That is local band Sloth Racer. And a huge thanks to our show producer. That's my son, AU freshman Peyton Null. Heads up the tech for Gulf Coast Financial Advisors because he's brilliant and much better at this than I am. And lastly, and definitely not the least, as always, our sincere appreciation for all of you out there that have been listening and joining us on this journey. We would love to be a part of your journey as well. Till we talk again next Sunday, have a wonderful and productive week. This has been Coasting in Retirement with Josh Null. Gulf Coast Financial Advisors, LLC, known as GCFA, is a registered investment advisor offering advisory services in the state of Alabama and in such other jurisdictions where it is registered, filed the required notices, or is otherwise excluded or exempted from such registration and/or notice filing requirements. Registration does not indicate or imply that GCFA has attained a particular level of skill or ability, nor does it constitute an endorsement of the firm by the Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, or any other state securities regulator. The Coasting in Retirement radio program serves mainly to disseminate general information, including those pertaining to GCFA's advisory services, together with access to additional investment-related information, publications, materials, and links. The publication of this radio show should not be construed by any client and/or prospective client as GCFA's solicitation to effect or attempt to effect transactions in securities, nor should be interpreted as GCFA providing personalized investment advice or any type of professional advice for compensation wherever this program is broadcast. Any subsequent direct communication by GCFA with a prospective client will be conducted by a representative that is either registered or qualifies for an exemption or exclusion from registration in the state where the prospective client resides. Certain information, news stories, headlines, data, charts, graphs, figures, or statistics presented on this radio program may have been obtained from third-party sources that are believed to be generally reliable, but which GCFA may not have independently verified. GCFA does not and cannot guarantee the timeliness, accuracy, or reliability of any such third-party information and undertakes no obligation to update or correct any information that may become obsolete, unreliable, or inaccurate. This radio program also contains the opinions, views, and perspectives expressed by Josh Knoll and any other GCFA representative, which are solely their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions, views, or perspectives of GCFA as a firm. Such personal views and opinions should not be construed as endorsements or professional advice from GCFA. GCFA makes no representation or warranty regarding the accuracy, completeness, or reliability of any information on this radio program and disclaims any liability for any direct or indirect loss or damage incurred from using or relying on such information. GCFA and Providence Partners are not affiliated nor are any of their respective representatives.